Hey, Derek.
How's it going?
It's going good?
We're back again.
Yep.
Guess who's back? James is
back.
back.
Back again. James is back. Tell a friend. I immediately had the thought that we have about 35 views on our last podcast, so that's cool. 35 people joined us in our conversation last time.
Are you sure that wasn't just you incessantly clicking it 35 times?
I don't know how that works. I have a feeling YouTube
Every time
doesn't do that.
It does. Every time you watch it, it counts as a view, but it doesn't count towards anything monetary. Like AdSense and all that stuff is just ignored.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't help with the demographics. Doesn't help with anything. Yeah. Same IP, same person clicking. Actually, I've always wondered about that though. Like, what if a family member is watching your video from home? I mean, I think that counts as a view if it's a different account. But regardless, you know, point is if we were trying to track new people that are watching it, that's not helping. I'm able to look at the analytics, so it's okay.
I think I watched it
34 times.
Five times. So we have 30 people joining us.
Awesome.
Hello.
Thanks for joining.
Hello.
Well, by the time you watch this one, could be 12 people, could be 69 people, could be thousands.
Yeah.
We might already be banned from YouTube.
That's also
For
true.
being too provocative. Anyway.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
James and Derek get banned in this episode. All right. So you suggest. Well, actually, we both kind of suggested the same topic today. It's pretty relevant. It is election season right now, as we're filming. So I had the theory that I'll share with you right now. Would you like to say anything first? I'll introduce the theory that I wonder if in American politics, TEFI, extroverted thinking and introverted feeling, is generally how Republicans like to think. And then on the Democratic side, it is TIFE. And maybe this fundamental difference in perspective is why there is this discussion and difficulty in aligning views. So I'd like to talk about that. TEFI versus TIFE. Perhaps that is the political divide. So, any thoughts?
Firstly, just to be fair, we're using terminologies that are relevant to the United States. I mean, even Canada, I don't know if it's called the Republican or the Democrat. So, like, we're talking about the difference between, and this again, it's only a frame of reference for countries that have this type of government set up. Like, but you know, Republicans are usually more conservative and believe in more conservative values, and Democrats are more liberal, I guess is the terminology we use, and have those types of ideas and values. But you will maybe find in like a government of another country that the conservatives actually believe things that the liberals believe in the U.S. or vice versa. So that I just want to point that out. So we're not saying we know that type of thing. We're just discussing what we do know, which is the United States and how they handle elections. And I have knowledge a bit about Korea and the parties here, but I don't think we're going to be speaking to that too specifically, so it won't be a big deal. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, actually, I just recently watched a video where someone said if Kamala Harris, or I'll name drop here, if Kamala Harris and Trump were running in Europe, it would be a landslide for Harris.
Unless it were Italy.
Unless it were Italy, yeah. So yes, this is specifically, as Americans, we are speaking of the American perspective.
Frankly, I will do my best not to speak from any perspective. I know it sounds very weird. I don't want to add even the smallest amount of bias, even so far as to talking about a democratic republic as being good or bad, because that you got to keep in mind again. Don't know who's watching. Could be somebody who's from a different type of government and a different type of system. So we're not claiming that any one thing is better. Like we're not. What's the word I'm looking for? We're not qualitatively analyzing these things. We're just talking about observations that we have had and how they connect with MBTI and connect with personality types and that sort of thing. So this is my way of being very safe and conservative, giving a disclaimer. Yeah, just to
Absolutely, absolutely.
we're not saying anything. We're just saying stuff.
Yeah, we're sharing. I'm sharing a theory. I'm sharing an observation I made, proposing the idea that this might be the reason why there is a divide, and then someone might be sharing something that they absolutely think is so true, and the other person just doesn't understand what they're saying, and perhaps it's just because they're using different functions. So I'll go into more clearly what those functions are. I'll start with TEFI, and I've absolutely observed this in my own life. TE, extroverted thinking, is all about results, all about the structures, how we get things done. So ideas like meritocracy, ideas like I worked for my money, right? And so don't take it from me. That's not fair. So when I say that's not fair, that's the other side of TE, which is FI. TE and FI, by the way, are on a they're attached. If you have TE, you also have FI. And yes.
The question I would ask then is, which personality types are we talking about here? So just for the lesser informed, that sounds insulting. Less informed people that are watching or listening, where would that combination come from? Which types? And then we'll do the same thing with the TIFE combination as well.
Okay. Yes. So I'll do it like this. I'll walk the TE down the stack. It can be your first, second, third, and fourth, right? The types with TE as number one are the TJs, ETJs of the world. ETJs of the world. The ETJs of the world will have TE number one. So ENTJ, ESTJ, right? Number two, ITJs, INTJ, ISTJ. Number three,
might not be necessary to do 3 and 4, because are we talking about the top tiers here when we're talking about the combination, or would that be noticeable in the lower?
So yes, they're still relevant. Okay. They're still relevant. So EFPs, ENFPs, ESFPs, they have TE and FI in their stack, the TE third. And then IFPs, ISFPs, INFPs, they have TE last. All of these people are aware of this way of thinking, which is, hey, we're all seeking to bring better order to the world. What seems orderly to me is that you are paid what you're worth. Let's keep things orderly so that if someone is providing more value, they get paid more. And let's not make anything. Let's not make anything free, because that's not fair. That's and FI, by the way, another observation I've made is FI says people are free to express their own opinion as long as they make the contributions that they should to society, TE. So TEFI is very much this mindset, hey, you do you, I do me, I'll make my contribution, you make your contribution, we'll be paid for our money, or we'll be paid for our contributions, and we'll stay out of each other's business.
Sounds good.
And that sounds like, well, an INTJ would say that, right? And that is what I feel is the TEFI mindset. FI means that I'm not FEing. I'm not extroverted feeling, thinking, like, oh, how will that feel to you? No, it's FI is saying, I feel good about it. I don't know about you, but I think it's very important that I should feel good about it. So that's the TEFI perspective.
I feel good about that.
Is there anything that you'd like to add?
No, I just I'm thinking here though, because I feel like eventually it's going to sound like we're saying that conservatives or Republicans or whatever will have these things and will like for example, not all INTJs are going to be conservatives. It's just the alignment is there, and that's what we're trying to. I guess we're discussing the possibility of that, and vice versa. We're not claiming. At least I wouldn't claim that. So maybe you are claiming that. Maybe I'm speaking too soon, but I just want to make sure. I want to actually. How about this? I'm basically saying it's starting to look. I'm starting to put pieces together here, and I don't think that would be true because, an INTJ could be a liberal, could be a conservative, could be Green Party, could be somebody who just doesn't care, could be a complete nihilist and think that voting is a waste of time. So I just wanted to say, like, from my we'll just say my point of view is that I feel that way. I feel that to each his own. And that we're not. I wouldn't make that statement. I'm just repeating myself.
Well, I mean that's.
As far as was that a very TFI thing to say?
It's well, I mean, That's very much echoes what I was saying about FI.
That's why I'm
It's
here.
like-
I'm
it's
an
like,
echo of the past.
I have my opinion. You have yours. So to each their own. That's very.
Hey, I'm trying to. I said we.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't mean it. I'm speaking for the group, which maybe I shouldn't do.
So I mean, in my INTP way, I'm not. I just want to share an observation I made, a theory. People can make the conclusion they want. I want to lay this out, and yes, you can make the connections. I just feel like it's a very strong theory, and that's why I'm sharing it here. So TEFI perhaps can be tied to in American politics, Republicans, conservatives, Donald Trump. You can kind of see the echo. I believe you can see kind of see the echo there. Moving into the Democrats, we can speak of TIFE, which is perhaps the Democratic and progressive perspective. FE is all about how do you feel? How do we all feel? If you do that, how will they feel? FE is always thinking about like, okay, yes, you have your perspective and we have our perspectives, and how can we think of this such that everyone's perspective is treated as well as possible. So it's like this. It's like a wide spectrum view of all the people and making sure they're all included.
That's
FE.
That sounds foolish.
And TI is used to think about what are the frameworks we can use in order to make this happen. And let's not think about who gets what. Let's just think about what can accomplish the solving of these problems that we have. And so the democratic view is these people don't have money. That's their biggest problem. Let's give them money. This is like UBI, welfare, these ideas. As long as it solves a problem, I don't see a problem. That's the democratic view.
Who decides what is and what isn't a problem?
Well, that's a.
Shouldn't that be the group? The whole group has to agree on what that is.
It's a. I think that's a very philosophical question.
It is.
Who decides? Who decides? So the TIFE perspective, I think, would say. The problems decide. The problems decide. That's the TIFE perspective. The TEFI perspective is. We decide as people, all working together.
I just immediately wonder, what does throwing money at someone solve?
What does it solve?
What I'm looking at here is if someone doesn't know what to do with the money, and that can be interpreted however you'd like. If they're not educated on finances or anything, I mean, how did they get to where they are in the first place? I just don't see how giving money away for free is going to help anyone. I think it would help them to maybe educate them, maybe take them take them under your arm and help them out, maybe mentor somebody, or teach them how to. Maybe they're just lost. You know what I mean? Like maybe they don't know their personality type very well, and they don't know what their role is and what their identity is. I think all of these things would be far more helpful than giving out taxpayers' money.
Okay. I think this is the verbiage used by Democrats and liberals and progressives, which is they talk about these things being systemic problems, so that they essentially say something like, if a child is born in a malnourished area and they don't have that much food, then it is pretty obvious that they will grow up shorter than average and more underweight and with a smaller brain, all these things. Expanding that metaphor, a person that is born into a underprivileged area will also grow up malnourished in their education, in their understanding, financially, life-wise, and thus they will naturally have less than ideal outcomes. So, speaking to the systemic view of this, if you provide what they were lacking when they were growing up, then if you trace it down the line, perhaps the outcomes will be different as well.
I find it very fascinating that someone feels that they can speak for everyone and say that like, oh, well, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're malnourished, therefore there's no possible way you could understand money or get a good education or that type of thing, because I know that to be untrue personally and just from observing other people. I've also seen people that were born in better situations completely waste their lives.
Oh yeah.
Double-sized brains. I don't care.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's also true. That's also right, and I actually think that what you're saying right there is very much the TEFI rebuttal to that statement, which is, what, you don't think I'm able to do it? You don't value my personhood and my ability to get out of this on my own. And they view this this help, this aid, as almost like a vote of lack of confidence in the person. I wonder if that's how you see it.
Yeah, it's discriminatory. It's segregating. It's all types of things that I feel it's alienating even. It's like othering. You're in this group, therefore that. You're from this group, therefore that. And no. Let's keep these separate. Okay, there you go. Now you're here. You're in this demographic. So if you were born here, you must be like this. And I notice how I'm doing this now. I have 5 PhDs, and so I do know what's better for you. And I start to get this a picture in my mind of an elitist, as I call them. And this type of thinking, to me, is total BS, because I see right through what they're doing. And yeah, so I'll stop there.
Okay.
For the moment.
Okay. Let me speak in to the seeing through what they're doing. Is I suggest, I wonder if it is simply TE misunderstanding TI.
It's completely possible. In fact, I haven't even decided if I agree with TI.
Oh yeah. Well, so let me elaborate on that. TE says, let's discuss, and let's talk with each other on what we should do.
Yeah.
TI says, I don't think we discussing it and thinking about it, and working with other people is going to find the solution. I would rather take a almost like personless perspective, just completely abstract logic, seeing the system, and then saying what are the problems here, and then deciding from there. And if you decide from there, I think TE misunderstands that and says, who are you, you random person, you random scholar, to say what we should do? Well, can you kind of see what they're speaking for?
I see it, but you mentioned we're talking about people here, and yet you said that there's no, I forget exactly what you said, but you basically made it sound like they're not people. There's just this systemic issue, and we have to fix it. And I'm above them, and I see this systemic issue. And while someone like myself would want to discuss it, human to human, that I think it's dehumanizing then what you described just now.
Which again, I think is the differences between an FI perspective and an FE perspective.
So let me ask you this: how do we find a middle ground? Because I don't see myself changing my mind about the way we approach it. Okay, not that. For me, it's like I want a certain solution. I want everyone to have a fair chance. And from my point of view, at least from all my understanding of the world and how people that have TI and FE, is that they don't get it. They don't actually get people, which is kind of intriguing to me considering they have FE as a thing, which is like they're supposed to know. Yeah, I mean, I'm tossing it up around. I mean, I'm on the fence here a little bit. But the question I want to ask, the question I'm trying to get to here is what do we do about this divide? And is there a way to find common ground? Is there, I mean, I don't know if it's TFI thing, but I would like to find the perfect approach. I would like to find a set way to solve this, not just, obviously there would be different solution sets for different problem sets, but my point is, how does one communicate from one type to the other effectively?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think the first step is awareness. So speaking about how we might see different things. I mean, for example, we are that same divide, and I'm seeking to understand that. I mean, as INTJ, you have TEFI and I have TIFE. So I can understand the TIFE perspective, and I'm seeking to speak into the TEFI perspective, and you can tell me if you think I'm doing an okay job.
I think I understand what you said. I've yet to change even. I mean,
Well, yeah. Well,
I know we're not looking for change here. What I mean is like, I see the approach from both sides, and I understand that there are two conflicting approaches. But looking ahead, which maybe I shouldn't do, I just don't see your approach working.
what?
Overall.
Okay.
However,
can
yes,
you
the
elaborate
answer to
on
your
that?
question is yes. Yes, I do. You are speaking to me in a way that I understand it, if that's what you're asking me.
Okay. I would love to know what you see the problems being down the road if you go down the systematic solution approach.
I see it these days, like I mentioned before about the alienation and segregation. It causes people to feel like I belong to this group and therefore I have to feel this way. There's like a ceiling that's being put over them. Like it's like they're being put in this like box and they're not allowed to go over here. So no, you're this type of person. No, you belong there. We're here to help you though. It's for everyone, but I don't see these people going anywhere. I don't see these people coming down and helping these people or whatever, however you want to shape this thing that we're building here, which is the way I see things, and so that's what I'm seeing. Whereas with the meritocracy idea or whatever, it's like every single person across the whole spectrum there, they're all equally able to.
That's fascinating.
However, limited by their physical and mental abilities. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to claim that, you know, everyone can be a doctor or everyone can do this or everyone can be a billionaire, all that kind of stuff. Like, or everyone can, whatever. I'm not saying everyone can do things, but I just see it as do what you're capable of, and then you shall be who you're meant to be. And like I don't know, I see it more. It's more freeing to me. It feels free. It feels less of I have someone else telling me what to do, which is classic INTJ hating to any type of conformity or authority. So that could be just a personal thing.
No,
But it is very freeing, and I feel like that's something that you would understand the idea of being free, but I feel like your idea of what freedom is might be different than mine.
absolutely.
So yeah, I'll stop there because that's a bit to digest, but that's how I see it.
I mean, that's huge. What you just said really reveals to me almost okay, a few things. But one thing I will say is that yes, our definition of freedom is different. Where as a TI user, my freedom is in how I'm free to think. Whereas for a TE user, they say like you thinking that is almost not fair. You're thinking something that is not something we have agreed to. So there's the divide TITE. That's where I actually personally want freedom. I want my ability to think my own ideas. FIFE is you want the freedom to be yourself, Derek, you. And the TIFE solutions do not treat you as you. They treat you as part of a group that may be perhaps underprivileged. Like we're making systematic solutions, and that removal of the individual personhood is something that you object to.
Right, because there's an infinite, using the word infinite, possibilities of. For my point is person A and person B might both be considered. What did you call them? Less
Underprivileged.
underprivileged, but the person A's underprivilege is different than person B's. But you want to create this finite system that somehow solves all of the problems of all these people that have separate problems that are unique to that person, theoretically. And I feel like that's an impossibility. That's not probable.
Yeah.
It would be nice if it were true, and I will speak to something else that you said about thinking, free thought, but this idea of creating a system that solves everything, everyone, and when I look at the examples in history or just currently that are set up to solve these issues, like, I don't know, free healthcare in Canada or Germany, where you have to wait,
Yeah.
like you have a broken leg for 6 months, it heals wrong by the time you can see a doctor, you know, that type of stuff. Okay, this is me being a little bit, like, talking too much about my opinions about, like, healthcare and things, but there's that type of thing. I'm looking at the systems there and the flaws there. Anyway, that's too detailed. And then the freedom to think, I'm not against that. It's just, I do not want someone else's thoughts forced upon me. And I don't feel, and then not just for myself, but I don't feel like anyone should have anyone else's thoughts forced upon them. No, so just like me, if I have my opinion about how things should be, I'm not going to say, James, nope, you're wrong. And in fact, you're wrong, and also you must do what I tell you. Mm-hmm. Or you must think this way or do it this way. Or I will prove to you I'm right so that you will think the way I think. You know, it's like, that's a challenge I'm willing to take in cases where I'm very convicted. I have conviction about the ideology.
Oh, okay.
However, once the argument's done and if you're not convinced, then it's over. Then I just move on to the next thing. So point being, freedom to think is not something I would want to take away from someone. It's just I don't sometimes want to hear it or be, you know, I don't know what to say there. I don't know if that's still me limiting people because I feel like I think stuff and I say what I'm thinking all the time. And people don't like it.
Yeah, well, see, I think TFI also has, like the FI there says, I'm free to have my opinion. And then TIFE would say, yes, however, your opinion is very strong. And simply out of almost intimidation, other people might not feel free to speak up.
Good.
Yeah. So, but, and then I'm also, like, I know in my own, maybe not intentionally, but I know in my own life that my TI has felt constrained somewhat by TE, but that is in the interest for TE, in the interest of executing on what we have planned, and being efficient, and so they said they don't want to hear my thoughts at that time because we already decided, you know. So that's when I want the freedom.
I would love to speak to that because this is something that I'm now understanding about you, the TI aspect of this. Because if I were doing something, executing something, and, you know, typically when someone shares their ideas or thoughts, then it's like, yeah, it's not the right time. So I just feel like it's a timing issue. I feel like the TI, in fact, during that planning process, the NI and the first part of TE, I feel like TI can come in and be very helpful there. But I feel like there's like a cutoff point. It's like, okay, now that we've done some experimenting, maybe not as much as you'd like to do because frankly, there's no end to it with you. It's just not productive, perhaps, in the eyes of someone. Because I'm trying very hard not to.
You can speak from your perspective.
But in my eyes, it's like, yeah, well, you know, but we want to get. Is this not something we both agreed upon that we want to? Like, is this not the goal? Did you not give me the responsibility to get us there? And then it's like, okay, well, if you did, then we do it my way. Yeah. So while that is a strong opinion, that is intimidating, that is not coercive, but it's like, it's basically saying, hey, I'm not going to listen to anything anyone says. But that's only so that I'm able to do what I'm meant to do. Because that's the gift. It's like the only way to to get to the goal that I'm getting to is by ignoring things that maybe I don't want to ignore. But if I don't ignore those things, the whole system will break down. Yeah. So this is not out of hatred or like disdain for someone's thoughts or ideas. It's just that it's not the right place. Because I have to, like, it's not easy to do these things. Like, you have to be very strong-willed. And that's the whole point. My strong will is also misinterpreted or just interpreted sometimes as extremely intimidating, judgmental, whatever. But it's because I'm like, no, but this is the plan and this is how we get there. I foresaw it. 10 years ahead. So the only reason why I'm able to do that is because I limit myself, which you're going to hate that word, limit myself to my functions and what it is that helps me to drive things forward. If that's not too long-winded.
That's fascinating. No, that's a great explanation. And it also helps me understand why, if the TIFE perspective seeks to take power, the TEFI people raise their hands and they basically say, I think what I hear is they're basically trying to say, hey, we're trying to get something done here, and you're getting in the way.
That's a really good point, and that's what makes us look like we just don't want to hear what you have to say. It's not that. It's just like you did the throw up the hands thing. That means I'm done. I'm not going to do it. Like, I'll just stop doing the thing. And it's not, again, it looks childish, but really it's just, okay, well, if we have to incorporate you into this, the TIFE into the mix, it's just, this system no longer works. The system I designed is flawed. Or rather, just debunked, or however you want to look at it. It's no longer plausible as a solution. Therefore, you figure it out. You'll see. I'll do that. I'm not sure if I've done it yet, but like sometimes if I'm too frustrated because I'm like no, I'm doing the thing that we're supposed to be doing, and someone like keeps stopping me or like tries to get me to do something else, I'm just like, you know what, you do it. You know, of course, if I were calm enough, like maybe I go, okay, well, I was explaining to you why I have to like be focused here. Like, yeah, okay, but that's why that happens. So I was I didn't want to stop you, but like that was quite interesting to me how you put it, because like I was thinking, yeah, I probably appear as someone that's just like, screw it, I'm not going to do it. It's like, as childish as that sounds, it's just no. The thing that was injected into the system is not meant for the system, and therefore, it's no longer effective. It's no longer, I forget simple words. Efficient. It's no longer part of the plan. Need a new plan, maybe. Let's start over. Is really what we want to say. But you tell an intj they have to start over, they're not going to be happy, because that could have been a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year plan. It could have been a 5-minute plan. But we don't like wasting time. Even 5 minutes. 5 minutes to me feels like a year. So I've said enough there, but I wanted to just interject with that information.
Yeah, and I would suggest that perhaps from the TIFE perspective is they say, hold on, yeah, I feel
you.
Yeah, well, I wonder if we don't really respect current in progress plans, because I think what happens is the TIFE says, hold on, what exactly are we aiming to accomplish here? Maybe we should rethink what goal we're aiming for, and I think the TEFI says, what, you know, like we are going somewhere. Like what do you like? You better have a really good reason why you want to change, and TIFE basically says like, there's got to be something better. Let's try something.
Right. I mean, let's say I was like a very flimsy TEFI person who's just like, oh, well, you have another idea? When does it end? Is the question. And I think I could speak for you and say there is no end. So therefore, there is no better, there's no best, there's no superlative. Whereas I'm always looking for the best possible case scenario. And I feel I've found it. And of course, along the way, we will figure out, maybe after failing, that wasn't the right one. Even though we were certain it was. It's just, that's how we make progress. Or how I make progress.
Yeah.
Now, of course, if you see something that's like, oh my god, that is fatally flawed, and you can show me, I'm going to stop and I'm going to fix it. I mean, this is not to say that just like, nope. I mean, maybe there's certain types of people, maybe an ESTJ or something, I don't know. They're just, nope, this is the way we're doing it. Ride or die. No, I'm not playing that game. Because that's not efficient, if you think about it. If you found something that's fatally flawed in the plan, and it's not just some gobbledygook like, there could be a better way, then I'm going to listen carefully, as a smart person. A stupid person might not. But I definitely don't agree with the idea of like, because there's no way. How do you make a plan if you never have a goal?
Yeah, it's very interesting that I think the way TIFE thinks is antithetical to TEFI. Like it just undermines all the plans and questions the plans, and then what is TIFI supposed to do?
I think it's the method of questioning that, if it was tweaked, it could be very, like I said, it could be very useful. But just trying to undermine the plan for the sake of undermining it, that to me doesn't seem practical. But I would always want to have someone like you somewhere on the side, like there, involved, just maybe quietly, watching over the system, watching over things as they unfold. Because if you do find a fatal flaw, like I said, or anything that's worth revamping or rethinking, I'm going to respect that. At least I feel I should. I'm not claiming I will in the future. I'm just saying a smart person would respect that. If you keep doing it though and it's useless, you're gone. That you know what I mean? It's just that's how it's going to be. Just the same with you. You'd probably get frustrated if I kept. Let's say I implemented 10 plans in a row. Each time I was like, nope, this is the one, and then I failed each time. While I'm sure learning from the failures, each time saw a better way. Then that's foolish. That's foolish on my part. So that would be a very very flawed version of TFI.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think almost to go all the way back to your question about how do we do this effectively. I wonder if the current system unconsciously or like just accidentally, is like very much almost the most efficient way. And
Which system are we speaking to?
so what I'm speaking to is when an incumbent is in office, the likelihood is that the next election cycle will move into the other party.
Yeah, I don't want to rely on that because there's a lot of variables at play here. I mean, for example, let's say a specific presidential candidate is from a certain party, but he or she is leaning more in one direction or another, or whatever. I mean, the claim there would be that, well, yeah, but it's perfect for the cycle. So whoever the person that's meant to be in that position will be. But I disagree with that very strongly because, in fact, most people, if you ask them, they would not choose neither. In a lot of cases, I mean, that's always what you hear. Oh, I don't like either person, but I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican, so I'm voting for that person. This to me is not traumatic, but it's traumatic. No, I want to say it's just sad because how many people are there in the world? There have to be. My thinking is always there's got to be someone better than the options we have in front of us. But yeah, I would like to agree with you. If I guess America's only barely not even 300 years old. So I'd say we don't even have enough information yet to see where this is going, see how things are going to play out in the next few centuries. So yeah, that's interesting. Because you could say like this. Well, what if I threw this in the mix? Actually, a democratic republic, in and of itself. So that's an entity. What about well, there's socialism, there's totalitarianism, there's fascism, there's all these isms. Why don't they make their way into the cycle? And now I'm just like, I don't know, actually. Why not a dictatorship once in a while? Do you have any input for that? It's like, I mean, is your claim that the system as it is, just the Democratic Republic, as it's called, I believe, Democratic Republic, do you feel that system in and of itself is self-sustaining? What's the point?
I have a very almost spiritual view on this. The image that comes to mind as you speak about that is something of like a forest ecosystem. You look around and you see all the plants growing where they're growing. Mm-hmm. The way I think about it is perhaps hundreds of other plants tried to grow there at the same time, but it couldn't happen. So almost it's fascinating to think about how that forest ecosystem is probably quite close to the optimal position that those plants could be.
You're speaking to nature.
Yes.
And where I have a problem with nature is nature's great and probably always is the optimal solution at any given time or just the solution. But we're humans and we mess everything up. At least that's how I see it. I see it as like what's natural about any of the things we do. In fact, I feel like we go against the fabric of, or just the nature in and of itself, in a lot of ways.
I very much.
Maybe it's just in our nature.
Maybe it's just in our nature. I have just like this sense inside me that I talked about this with someone, that we're wiser than we think. We're wiser than we think, and for example, when there's a social movement that rises up in a culture, that's not, in my opinion, that's not the work of humans. That is, the environment was such that the forest fire could there was enough dead leaves for the forest fire to start.
Great analogy, but who put the leaves there in the first place?
The leaves ended up there.
See, I don't see it that way. I see the environments that we exist inside of were created by precedents, people before us,
mm-hmm.
and those people are less wise than we. And even if we are wiser than they, then we are still stuck with the thing that they gave us, and we're the ones that get stuck with the dry leaves. And again, this comes to just the idea of creating. I feel like people create things, whereas animals or plants or just natural things behave in a certain way. They're just kind of going with there's ebbs and flows and everything. This is very non-intj way of looking at things. They're like, oh, I guess I have it stuck in my head that humans are just yeah, they cause stuff to happen. Like I mean, like this everything we have in front of us, an animal, except for beavers, wouldn't be able to build. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like they're animals that do stuff, but like, yeah, I feel like this needs a better, more well informed opinion. I mean, just I'm looking at things from just previous experiences and looking at how humans seem to be, how they are. You know, like animals kill to eat. Humans kill to finish the sentence. You know, I'm not asking you to finish it. I'll leave it. Hope you can. You know, it's like I rarely see animals do anything for fun, except for dolphins. I saw them kicking around a blowfish once, which was very gruesome, but like they think it's funny. Dolphins.
This is yeah.
Yeah.
I hear the TEFI in what you're saying.
Oh, please tell us what that is, because sometimes it's nice to have that just thrown in my face. No, I'm just kidding. I would like to hear.
Well, I mean, first of all, TE I think is that very much that view of like it's me that does it, and we are gonna do it. But then the one I'll say okay, TE is that, and then FI is each individual thing is what I'm paying attention to, as opposed to the system. And the system is impersonal, but in my view, it allows these things to become natural once again. You know, one system is Democrats and Republicans. Yes, there are each vote was a person, but the system is not people.
Actually, you brought up an interesting topic there. The votes. You vote for one or the other, but that's a system that was already in place. You don't have any say in how the system is run, though. You're supposed to. I think that's the point of the Congress. Although I feel like they don't have anyone's best interest other than themselves, and I'm talking both sides. You know, like laws are supposed to be like we had this like 3-branch system. It's supposed to be checks and balances. At least that's what I learned in school when I was a kid. Maybe it's changed. Just like Pluto used to be a planet. I don't know. Now I've made myself sound really old. It's like we have the system that's there, and we're kind of. I'm not saying we are, but it feels like we're stuck with it, and like we have to work within it. But like, what about thinking outside of that? Yeah. And is there not a better? And again, this is not very intj way of thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, it is, because an existing system that's beautiful and perfect in nature is like an ISTJ way of thinking. It's like, it's tried and true. But me, it's more like, except for these flaws here that I'd like to fix, and so I would like to change said system. At least that's my instinct.
Yeah, well, it's
not a somewhat a destructive way. I'm not saying I want to break the whole bloody thing down, but at the same time, if it needs be, as they say.
And I think what you're speaking to, like the taken to a much farther degree, I think that is actually the Democrat liberal perspective, which is like the current systems aren't serving us. Let's change them.
I'm not making that claim. I just was positing the idea that what if we think for ourselves for a moment and not just like, I watch so much TV and people tell me I have to vote for one or the other, and if I act like this, I'm a Democrat. That whole nonsense. Or if I act like this, I'm a Republican. It's like, yeah, but have you actually thought about it? Have you actually taken a little bit of time out of your busy day watching Netflix and TikTok to think about what your needs are and what the needs of the people are, or what the needs of people around you are? Which is fine if they haven't, because that's where people like you and I come in, and we just we fix everything. We see this stuff. We look for those answers, and then our entrepreneurial minds are just like, hey, let's make those changes, or let's get people thinking. And that's why I don't know why I'm not talking this way, but like that's why we're here. We wouldn't. I mean, what is the point of this podcast otherwise? And then again, it's like, what's this existential thing I'm talking about? Like, why do I exist? I'm just saying, it's like, but again, back to that idea that like the system we have is not flawed, etc. It's like, yeah, why not give that a think?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what you said last, because I've definitely gone off into outer space again. I live on Saturn, folks. I mean, I'm not even here. Just riding the rings.
Why don't we? You were saying why don't we change the existing institutional system? Yeah,
because you said, well, that's you were talking, I guess, about like why what a Democrat is, what a Republican is, and yeah, the whole topic was the TFI and the TIFE, and I'm just thinking, is that the only thing that creates this dichotomy? And yeah, it's I'm kind of stuck. I just got myself stuck here. I'm in a web that I just created.
Well, I would say not quite, because you have a different view than an ISTJ, and there are ways that we can or people can explore that.
We're still an ITJ though. That's that part.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
ITJs, but the relying on a system, I guess, is similar. It's just I would like to create a new system, whereas they believe in the existing one.
Yes.
I
So
suppose.
so yeah, the way of going about it and the values are the same, but what you're focused on is different, perhaps.
Yeah, and I don't know where I just took us like off, like like when you're walking down the right path, like in the forest. I'm like, hey, look there, hey, shiny up. What was that over there? Is that $1? And I just like, let's go this way, and then we keep walking, and now we're like 200 yards in or meters, and now I'm lost.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful. That's what it's like talking with intuitives.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So it's beautiful.
All the S's, all the SJs have tuned out.
Let's see if we can. Where would we like to go?
I would like to. I don't know why I'm speaking now. I just get back to the topic maybe a little bit about, or see if there's anything we missed, because we really didn't speak too much to. I guess you define what TFI the combination is and how they view things. We've talked about the opposite, or are they opposites? Is actually the question I wanted to ask. I remember now. Like TIFE, TFI. It's like I don't. While I love things being in a certain order or whatever, but at the same time, it's like, oh, is it really that cut and dry?
I think it speaks to a ton of the misunderstanding. I think would you agree that as we talk right now, you can see why what one thinks is like an excellent idea, the other thinks is like horrible. It's just dehumanizing.
Yeah, I feel that even after having this discussion, I would still, if we talked outside of this, or just right now, if you were like, I believe this, and I would be like, no, that's stupid. Like, I feel like it wouldn't change anything about me. So that's why I posed the question, how do we approach this in the future in order to alleviate this, let's call it conflict for the sake of argument here.
Yeah, okay.
How do I speak your language? It's like, because I feel like, I'm actually questioning, is it possible? Like, can someone like me and can someone like you really ever think the same? I would say no. Which is a very tricky thing to say.
I agree. Getting systematic again. If the zebra is running from the lions, if one zebra suddenly became conscious and said, "Hold on, I'm a zebra, and lions eat me," and then like now that the zebra is conscious, like what changes? There's nothing the zebra can do about this system except to continue to run from the lions. And the lions will continue to eat the zebras.
I mean, if they're suddenly conscious, then I'm questioning their intelligence must have possibly gone up, and therefore shouldn't they be able to evolve some other way out of this issue? Maybe take some steroids, or design some weaponry with their hooves.
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah, that's true. However, I'm mostly speaking in metaphor to say that once. Speaking systematically, I'll just go back to our topic.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't seeing the connection.
Yeah. Speaking systematically, once I realize, I'm speaking from TIFE, and you're speaking from TEFI. And once we understand that, we at least can understand the perspectives, but we don't have to change anything. I'm still a zebra, and you're still a lion.
Okay, then I guess the answer to my question is there isn't a solution.
Well, there is a solution.
Why, because just me knowing how you roll and you knowing how I roll, that doesn't change anything. In fact, it just makes it easier for me to manipulate you, if anything.
It,
At least that's how I see it.
In my perspective, it allows me to understand that the other side, the side that I can't really understand, has good motives in mind. They are attempting to solve things the way that they see fit. And I would almost say, like, one thing that mbti shows us is the world is far more than we think it is. We have blind spots. And so I think actually the ideal solution is what kind of ended up happening, which is TEFI takes over for a while, TIFE takes over for a while, and they handle each other's blind spots. It's almost like...
I don't see any of that as a solution. I see that as just temporary shift of suffering.
That's life. I like it is almost like having in a company. I mean, if you were the leader, if you were running a company,
Not if.
when
I
you
would
are
be the. I would be no. Okay.
as a current leader of the company,
Okay.
as an intj, you do have blind spot FE that will probably burn you at some point. And the solution I would suggest is hire someone who has high FE.
There you go. So you've just posed a solution to that, and now let's pull that out and try to use that in the one in the just the let's call it the Democrats versus Republican issue here. I don't know if I mentioned today. I think I texted you or something talking about a middle person, and the idea there was, and I'm not talking about like JFK, who was like he was a Democrat, I think, and he was like right in the middle, so he wasn't like left or right leaning. Well, that might be closer to what I'm talking about here. Is just you just mentioned it. Like I don't know how this would work, but like instead of having just one president, then it sounds like you'd want like your INTJ there and then your INTP right beside that person, or something like this, because. This whole shifting of back and forth nonsense, I feel like is like fix and break and fix and break and however you want to look at that, what that means. Fixing one thing and breaking another while breaking something else and fixing it. So let's just say it that way. Like there's all these things and like, oh, Democrats here, these are getting fixed. That's awesome, but oh, this all broke down. That's so stupid to me. That's not efficient and it's just foolish. So what I'm saying is like there has to be a better way, a little bit on the way you would see things, because I'm saying like why not have someone who can. Because if there's no right answers, then what's the point of any of it?
I think.
That's very TE, I think. But
Yeah, I think you're essentially. I mean, like, I would almost suggest that what you're saying is how dictatorships get created.
Oh.
Because you're essentially saying, screw all this. We're just gonna TE it. We're just gonna TE it.
That's not what I meant. I didn't mean that. What I'm trying to say is let's do something. Such that we can somehow amalgamate. We can somehow merge the TFI with the TIFE all at one time, like a super. Like I don't know. It's like I watched a movie recently where they tried. I think it was the Alien movie. They basically took the alien genes and the human genes and tried to mix them together to make a perfect human, so to speak. Or it wouldn't be human. That would be a perfect life form. And so the person who created that life form believed that was a perfect life form because it had all the strengths of the alien, which, I mean, they have a lot of interesting traits. And then humans. We have brains, we're pretty floppy, pretty weak. Humans are pretty weak. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, the idea is there is to like put them together and make a thing. So that's what I was getting at. Because you said in a company, well, you just have this and that works, and that's why a company works. So I'm thinking, well, why not apply that to a government?
Well, see, like, in the company example, if you hire someone with high FE, they're going to do stuff that you don't understand at all. And you're gonna just have to let them do it.
Well, that's why I want the checks and balances thing. I want a TEFI in there, like let's talk about that, and then they have to go through the hell of discussing these things from two different points of view.
But see, I don't think that discussion can ever really be that productive.
And that's the question I'm asking. I wasn't posing that there is a solution. I'm just saying, is there not?
I'm saying there is a solution.
Okay.
So like in the company example, you hire someone with FE, and then you let them do what you hired them to do.
Run the company to the ground.
Well, see, like, they're gonna do FE things, and it's gonna look like, oh, that's why are you wasting the money on that? But what you will also see is the company thrives in that direction, and so it's like, oh well, I guess that could be better. Like,
I feel like I would see that if somebody's FE or not. If they're
You don't
driving
see
the
FE.
company in the right, I'm ignoring the FE. I'm only focused on the company and the direction the company's going. If that person, regardless of what their stack is driving the company in the right direction, they're spending money on something. I feel like a rational person should always be able to see that it's going in the right direction.
no, you're
Or rather, let's ask this: why would I not be able to see it?
okay.
Being the intuitive person I am.
If we go into the past, we see progressive policies that you currently benefit from. However, at the time, they were disruptive, and they were new things that completely changed the plans. You benefit from them right now, and you refuse, because it doesn't make any sense to you, to let new plans be put in place.
May I have an example?
Well, New Deal.
What?
Social Security.
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt.
No. Oh.
Yeah. So, unemployment insurance.
I disagree with Social Security, by the way. Are you telling me I benefit from Social Security? I pay into it and I'm never going to get it.
Well,
And in fact, people now aren't getting it.
okay.
It failed, in my opinion. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, perhaps it is a system that has outlived its usefulness. However, they're like speaking to the hypothetical.
Alright.
That it could have prevented some people from becoming homeless.
Okay.
And maybe that overall helped all of us. You know, it's kind of like if I take someone into the dentist and I treat their tooth, oh, now that tooth doesn't decay into gum disease and we don't have to pay thousands of dollars.
I guess like anything we do, like if we come up with some really cool new thing and we implement it now, while it fits now, in 10 years it's gonna be the same thing. Oh, that thing Derek and James made is just stupid.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, and
15
also,
years from now, 20 years.
Yes. Okay, I lost my train, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about planned obsolescence, which is something I want to talk about eventually, because a lot of stuff is like honestly designed to fail, and I'm wondering about the Social Security system. Like, really, when did it ever make sense? I'm wondering because I've seen the flaw in it since day one. Well, not since I was born, but like I've carried around that stupid card. I've memorized my number. I know that number better than anything. I forget my birthday before I forget my Social Security number. And it has had and never will have any use. Now I've messed up my sentence. Any use for me, grammatically.
Any use or no use at all. It was
Yeah. There you go, trying to be smart and end up dumber by doing so. Maybe not. I'm getting a little bit. I'm not trying to focus too much on this one example because the point was to look at just the hypothetical there. I think that's why we have again. This is a nice one because you always my idea is just you always have to change stuff. You just have to constantly refinessing the formula, but then that's going to pose the exact problem that we're trying to discuss here is who knows the better solution when we got a TIFE and a TFI. Well, I'm not going to point on us, but like you got that side and this side trying to figure out what's best for everybody. And I'm still of the impression that that's not possible.
And I agree.
And so I feel like any system we ever create from now on, or for just in perpetuity, is always going to be the wrong system. There is no right system for anything.
Well, some people will think it's the wrong solution. Other people will think it's the right solution, and it will go in cycles. And the hope is just as when you look at the forest ground and everything that grew, everything that did well remains. My hope, my belief is
Survival of the fittest is
exactly.
what I'm hearing.
So my belief is. We will get some mixture of the two. Everyone will feel like everyone's doing something wrong, and everyone will benefit from things that are in their blind spots. That's my proposed theory right now.
I like this word benefit. I want to talk about that sometime because I don't like the word actually. Because how does one define benefiting? I constantly hear you benefit from this, you benefit from that. Sometimes I'll agree. Sometimes I'm like, no, I don't think it's much of a benefit. And so that's also an opinion. Like the word benefit to me sounds very opinionated. It's a bit of a tangent. I just there's so much to kind of just to look into.
Yeah.
Scrutinize, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
I will say this. Whether you have FE or not, FE I would propose FE exists.
Actually, I wanted to bring up FE too. I was meeting some people this week, and they this is just be a quick thing. They mentioned, yeah, there's a lot of FEs in Korea. And I said, oh, you mean women, right? This wasn't being sexist. I mean, just generally there are more FEs in females. At least that's what the data shows. I don't even agree with the data. I'm just saying that's what the data said. And they're like, no, they're males too. I was like, oh, really? Why do you think that? Because I'm under the impression there's a lot of TE, so I would assume TFI combo, especially since that's what you've told me about your experiences in Korea. And there's so many SJs here, so I thought, oh, that's really, really intriguing that person said that, because I tried to question it and everything. They're like, no, they really felt strongly they're right. And so I want us to look into that. And I wanted to bring it up today because it is somewhat similar. And at the same time, it poses a new question for the next episode, maybe, is what causes these personalities to be more or less prevalent in different time periods, during different cycles, perhaps, in different countries, in different demographics, etc., etc. Because INTJs and INTPs are considered rare, and then you have certain types that aren't rare, and why does that happen? And that's something I'd like us to take a look at. And I think that kind of can be a bounce. We can jump off from what we're talking about today, because how did we end up with this separation in politics? And also, how do we end up with these separations more fluidly in societies? Food for thought.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, so those diversities, we want to look into that. Okay. For what we're talking about now, is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Nope, just TFI rules, TIFE rules. No.
Yeah.
Who's
my
the
running,
lion? I mean, that's what I really want to ask. The lion and the zebra scenario. I feel like we're the lions. You're going to get eaten because we're so aggressive. Because you mentioned earlier about the intimidation.
Yeah, I'll just say the image, the archetype that comes to mind for TFI is hunting, and then the archetype for TIFE is farming. Somewhat. That kind of comes to mind.
That's really cool because that's very basic. That's very that's how things used to be. So we could travel back in time and try to figure out if there's some origin here, and why that is. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I've said all I've had to say.
Yeah. I like my theory. I like my theory that that in a world with two completely separate opinions, perhaps the best we can get to, and I'll keep thinking about it, is if the two groups alternate in their holding of the power.
And actually, I did lie. I did want to comment on that.
Oh.
Not even a comment. It's just my final thoughts on the cycles. I like the idea of I used the wrong word. I admit that cycles are what's happening. I would like to have a think about why it is that we have to have cycles. Why is it impossible to find a perfect solution? I know there's an answer there, and I know that you probably already know what you feel the answer is. I feel like it's my duty to question that.
Yeah.
Because I want to know, why do we have to why are we stuck with this, I'll call it flawed for the lack of a better word at the moment, a flawed system. Why do we have these cycles? So that's another thing we can think about. And you guys can think about too.
Absolutely. That's interesting. That's interesting.
All
Very,
right.
very philosophical. That'll be my answer for next time.
Awesome. All right.
There's nothing else?
Nope, that's everything.
Yep. So that wraps up this episode. See you next time.
Bye.